Pierce Brosnan. There's a version of Pierce Brosnan that the world thinks it knows. The one in the perfectly cut suit, behind the wheel of an Aston Martin, radiating the kind of effortless cool that most men can only dream about. But strip away the tuxedo, the gadgets, and the license to thrill, and what you find is something far more compelling than any secret agent. You find a man who spent the better part of his life learning how to hold on to the people he loved, and how to survive when he couldn't. His story doesn't begin in the glamour of Hollywood. It begins in a small town in Ireland, with a little boy who woke up one day and realized his father wasn't coming back. Pierce Brosnan was born on May 16, 1953, in Drogheda, Ireland, and spent his earliest years in Navan. His father Thomas walked out when Pierce was barely old enough to understand what that meant. Then, when Pierce was around 4 years old, his mother May made a decision that would shape the course of his entire childhood. She left for London to train as a nurse, doing what she had to do to build a future. But the distance meant she could only return home a handful of times each year. For a small child, those gaps felt enormous. During those years, Pierce was raised by his maternal grandparents. When they passed away, he moved between relatives and eventually found a place to stay in the boarding house of a woman named Eileen Riley. The homes kept changing, but something within him stayed constant: the ability to find warmth even in unfamiliar places. He later described his time at Eileen's home not with bitterness, but with genuine tenderness. It was filled with happiness, he recalled. Joy. Her children became his companions, and the neighborhood streets filled in the rest. His mother once brought home a small projector that could cast cartoon images across the ceiling. Mickey Mouse dancing above a modest room that suddenly felt like a movie theater. These were the details that stayed with him, not the absences, but the pockets of light that filled them. One Christmas, May couldn't make it home at all. Instead, she sent a pair of old boxing gloves. Pierce kept them on his bookshelf for decades, never feeling the need to explain why. They were proof that someone was thinking of him, across every mile of distance between them. Sometimes love doesn't arrive in person. Sometimes it arrives in a brown paper package, and it's enough. In August 1964, just after turning 11, Pierce was finally reunited with his mother in England. She had since married a man named William Carmichael, and Bill brought something Pierce had rarely experienced: stability. One of the first things the family did together was go to the cinema, where Pierce sat in the dark and watched Sean Connery move across the screen as James Bond in Goldfinger. Cool, commanding, and completely unrattled by the world around him. That image never really left him. But outside the theater, London had a different reception waiting. His classmates called him the Irish boy, and rather than flinch, Pierce decided to own it, claiming the label before anyone else could use it as a weapon. He left school at 16 with a portfolio of drawings and a hunger to create. He started studying commercial illustration, which eventually led him to an experimental drama class. Something clicked. Acting, he would later say, wasn't just a craft he discovered, it was a liberation. Here was a place where it didn't matter which house you'd grown up in, or whether your father had stayed. What mattered was presence. What mattered was truth. He went on to spend 3 years at the Drama Centre London, grinding through the discipline that serious acting demands. Every gesture considered, every line earned. When he graduated in 1975, there was no red carpet waiting, no guaranteed anything. He joined the York Theatre Royal, took on whatever roles came his way, and slowly started